Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly astrological weather. My name is Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub, and I am here with Predictive Astrologer Anne Ortelee, and we're so excited to be with you. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. Before we dive in, I'm going to ask Anne about the intensity of our upcoming week, and we'll go into the energies. But before we do that, I just wanted to make sure that you all know that today is the final day of enrollment for our Inner Circle membership. So we will be closing doors today, June 30th at midnight. So this is your last chance.
Midnight Hawaii time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it gives you a little bit more time. So we have been getting questions from people wondering, like, I'm new to astrology. Is it going to be right for me? Is it going to be over my head? And what I'm saying to that is, if you're new to astrology, it's okay. It's good. But you have to be a student. You have to be someone who wants to actually learn astrology. So if you're just tuning in to Anne and me every week and you love it and you're like, just tell me what's going on, I don't really care how you're figuring it out, just tell me what's happening, then the Inner Circle isn't quite right for you. We have other things that are right for you, but not the Inner Circle. But if you listen every week and you go, whoa, like, how is she figuring that out? And I would love to know how to do that. And I'm actually committed to learning how to do that. And the reason why I use the word committed is because learning astrology is like learning a foreign language. It takes time. It takes focus. It takes immersion. It takes really being dedicated to actually learning. So the other thing is that, so what I would say, I'll just back up again. If you are a new student to astrology, then yes, the Inner Circle is great for you. If you have been studying astrology for a long time and you just can't get enough and you just want to be in an incredible, vibrant community, if you want to have different master astrologers teaching you every month, then the Inner Circle is also for you. But just one more note for you new students. What I have seen, the most successful Inner Circle new students are the ones who are good and wanting to be in the process of learning. They're okay, like, cultivating the beginner's mind, and they're okay not knowing for a period of time. Now, we do provide resources for beginner students. We have our beginner starter kit that has some videos on how to pull your chart, what to look for in your chart, what you're actually looking at when you look at a chart. It also has a Secrets of the Zodiac audio that comes with it, and then another video that talks some more about the history of astrology. So you're going to get foundation that will help you stay with it month after month, but there's going to be a lot of things you don't get at first. So if that's okay with you, and or if you want to practice doing that, then yes, the Inner Circle is right for you. So it's happening. This is the last day. So if you'd like to join us, you can go to astrologyhub.com/inner circle. There's no contract when you join. So if you want to just try it out, now would be the time to jump on in and give it a try. And if it's not working for you, you can always end your membership. So astrologyhub.com/inner circle. All right. And do you want to say anything to that? Like, new students, what you've seen?
I think, I was thinking about it the other day because I was talking to someone, and in June of right around now, June 18th of 1994, I had my first astrology reading, and I was really blown away by the guy. And I was like, how do you do that? He knew all this stuff. And, I asked about, like, my ex. So I was like, how do you know that? Like, by looking at a book of numbers.
Right.
So I left on a Friday and called him on Monday and said, I want to learn how you did that. One, because I don't make the same mistake again, right? Because he said to me, well, didn't you break up with him 7 years ago? And I'm like, how do you know that? So, of course, it was Saturn, 14 and a half years, boom, it blew up, right? So he said, well, I'm starting a beginner class in the fall. And I sat on his couch. It was right by my birthday. It was Monday. I sat on his couch for 2.5 years on Monday nights with the summers off because he doesn't believe in air conditioning. And I learned astrology. And about 2 months in, I'm like, this is like our user manual.
Yes.
And this is, this is that we didn't get, or we got, but we didn't know we got. At least I didn't know it until I was 40. Mm-hmm. So 26 years later, I still take classes. I take a class on Monday night. It's an ongoing adventure.
Yes.
And I found it incredibly meaningful. And the reason I changed careers from computers which was, a good lucrative career to astrology, was because this is your computer programming. And if you know how to run your program, you can really do good stuff. It's kind of like, can you just insert a box in Word, or do you actually know how to do fancy functions,
Right.
And so, like, if you want to just insert a box, or, you want to even dictate it, hang out with Amanda and I, and we'll tell you what's going on. But if you want to know how to actually work the Word document that is your chart, learn astrology. And I personally think everybody should learn astrology at age 5.
Oh God!
So yes. I had a little kid. I had a mother that was a lot of Earth, Capricorn, and she had a baby girl that was water sign, big water. And the little kid would come home after daycare or whatever, and go, I want to kill myself, and her mother would be like, what do I do? And I'm like, put her in the shower. She's absorbed whatever's in the room. So one day she's having a little temper tantrum. She's 4.5 years old. She's stomping and yelling in the kitchen. And she looks at her mother and she goes, I know, I have to take a shower. And she stomped off and took a shower, and she would come back like a changed child. And, you teach a 4.5-year-old that they know what to do when they get in that kind of mood. That's powerful.
Yes. And you would be an amazing teacher for kids.
I love astrology.
The light bulbs are going off because of all your stories. I mean, I have an 11 and an 8-year-old, and for them to be able to really do, they, of course, through me, they do know a lot, but they could go a lot further. Yeah. That'd be amazing. Okay. All right. Note to self. Okay, everybody. So let's dive into the weekly weather. And thanks for that. And it really is. It's what I've seen. It's like the journey. If you want to go on a journey with astrology and with the universe and with yourself, and if you want to have some amazing guidance, then this is a great place for you.
Thanks. And I think of it as, and I mean, you're going to be locked up for another 6 months. So, or you're going to get re-locked up, depending on where you live. Maybe European clients, not so much, but you're banning us from coming to visit you, so we're not going to infect you. But America, you're getting locked back up again. So I would say, this is a great time to learn it. It's Saturn, Pluto. It's going to give you a new structural framework to look at your life. So.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, Anne, let's talk about this week. Last week you gave it a 10-11.
And somebody tweeted that they thought it should be 1 million. And I'm like, Amanda only lets me go to 100. Amanda only lets me go to 10.
You can do whatever you want, Anne.
No, I was like, that's a good point. It was a pretty intense week. Another intense week.
Okay.
That end of the scale, and for a few reasons. One, we're still in eclipse season, so now we're going from the new moon eclipse to the full moon eclipse next Monday, the 5th, or whatever the 5th is, Sunday or Monday. We're going to the full moon, and so the full moon is right on the U.S. sun, because it's the day after our inspiration birthday, the Declaration of Independence as the inspiration for our country in America. And of course we had the Constitution, after we won the Revolutionary War, but this is our birthday. So we're basically having our solar return, and we're having an eclipse on it. So we know that this cycle, that every 19 years, is a big deal. So it was 9/11, it was Iran-Contra, it was the Kennedy assassination, it was D-Day. It's a big one for the world too. So we want to watch what the energy is. So that's part one. Part two is Jupiter and Saturn are dancing this year, and they've had three conjunctions. They had one on April 1st, April 4th, and then they have one now, today, June 30th, and then they have one on November 13th. And so they're saying, let's make it bigger. Let's expand the transformation. So Jamie, I do a podcast on Sunday night, it's a little more techie for a little more astrology people, but I said in it, you're a butterfly, but now you got a rocket attached to your butt. So tell her your story about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So anybody who's been listening to us since, when did we start this? February, March. You have heard Anne talk about how we're caterpillars who are now in the cocoon, and we're going to emerge as butterflies. And so I've had that imagery, and I've been walking with that imagery all year. And the other day I was doing yoga outside, and there were like some butterflies. I was like, oh, I'm the butterfly. And then Jamie, our assistant, who is helping with this broadcast right now, says, did you hear that Anne said we're now butterflies with rockets attached to our ass? No, I didn't hear that. And that just blows up my my entire imagery of like the beautiful, peaceful butterfly now has a rocket that like could blow up at any time. It's like, oh God, is that really where we're at? So
for 6 months. Yeah. So it accelerates the speed. And the analogy was when they launched the rockets, from Cape Canaveral, it's like a rocket on your butt. And I always was like, who would do? I mean, I'm not that kind of girl. I mean, there's astronauts, John Glenn, God bless him, and all the astronauts, the Mercury 7 and everybody. They sat on a rocket and agreed to be shot off into heaven with a rocket on their butt. And that's happening to all of us now. So whether you ever wanted to be an astronaut or not, that's the next 6 months. All right. So Mars went into Aries. We now have a rocket on our butt. It's going to it's going to aspect the transformational planets and kick them up. And they're going to get a little hotter, and they're going to get a little more intense, and they're going to get more passionate. And you're going to go, wow. Now, a lot of the Aries are going, I feel so sluggy and logy. It's because you guys are having your Mars coming into your planet. So if you're in Aries, you might be feeling a little bit, because until Mars gets to your planet, you're at the end of the gas. You're running out of gas. But for the rest of us, Mars went into Aries, and we all went, oh, I'm awake. And if you didn't notice the shifts, it was like Sunday night in the morning, New York time. So you woke up Sunday morning and you were like, I feel like I need to do something new. That's the rocket on your butt. And Mars in Aries, of course, Aries is a very primal sign. It's springtime in the east, in the northern hemisphere. The sun comes across the equator, and you get that little smell, and it smells like spring coming, and it's not winter, and you want to take your clothes off and your coat off and run outside in your no coat. It's Mars in Aries, right? And Mars in Aries is its favorite sign. Mars rules Aries, the sign of the warrior. So our inner warrior is taking off. We're all being asked to do that shift. And so last week, when they took this Confederate statue down of John Calhoun, down off the platform in South Carolina, as he came down, he was standing there looking very stern, and he's on the ground. And I'm like, wow, Mars in Pisces. And then we go Mars into Aries, and now suddenly everybody's Mars is up. So you want to look at your Aries house, wherever it is, by sign and placement, and by house, and then look at your natal Mars, because your natal Mars always goes, oh, we're in Aries now? Okay, let me go do things. And whatever that house is in, you're going to have 6 months of Mars in Aries. And if you have Aries, it looks like the little ram horn. If you have Aries, like maybe 15 Aries, it means 15 degrees on this side, so you look at 2 houses. But we are going to have Mars in Aries for 6 months till January 6th, January 7th, depending on where you are on the Earth. And we are off like a rocket. And you're going to feel it. You're going to feel everything. Hard to believe it's going to get faster. Hard to believe it's going to get more intense. But it is, because Mars is the planet of action and war and stuff. So we can find with Mars, I got my list of words here. We can find we're going to be annoyed, agitated, fed up, irritated, resentful, disgusted, outraged, or we can use positive Mars words: sure, certain, unique, dynamic, tenacious, hardy, secure, empowered, ambitious, powerful, confident, determined, inspired, healthy, renewed, vibrant, strengthened, motivated, focused, invigorated. Honor the energy. When you get really mad, Mars is anger, go, okay, what am I going to use this for? How can I use this energy? Because energy is neutral, but we can use it in higher form or lower form. And again, my vision of astrology is we should understand, oh, there's energy. How do I want to use it? Mm-hmm. And the more we do that, the better. So we've got the eclipse. We have Mars into Aries for 6 months, long time. We have the second chapter of Jupiter-Pluto, which is saying, go back to April. Oh, that's when we started to open things up. Oh, gee, it's going retrograde. Now we're closing things up again. And then we also have, something else? We have Mercury Combust the Sun. So everybody's going to be very opinionated about their opinion. Don't even try and argue with them, because they're going to be right. We have a lot of health aspects this week, which we are seeing with the COVID kicking off. And then we have Mars sextiling Saturn, which is very much about, okay, now that Mars is in a sign where he can take action, what does he want to do? And it's very interesting, because I sit here in New York by New York Hospital, and the last 2 days since Mars went in Aries, everybody stopped ringing their bells out the window, which they did every day at 7. They just stopped. And I'm like, was there a message I missed? we don't ring our bells anymore, but normally at 7 it would start, and Mars, of course, is in a new sign. It went through all 30 degrees to 0 Pisces, and they stopped ringing the bells on Sunday.
Wow.
We haven't had bells for 2 nights because I'm always like very excited and there haven't been bells. And I'm like, where'd the bells go? Yeah, and I'm right by the hospital for the shift change. Yeah. Yeah. So it's big. This is really big. And honoring that we're in this intensity, this abundance. Also, Athena is meeting with Pluto this week. And we don't really talk about her a lot, but she's Athens. She sprung from her father's head. She was strategic. So she has, she didn't have a mother, but she was very much the strategist. And she was like, okay, how do we approach this? So Pluto and Athena are getting together and saying to you, what's your strategy? What are you going to do? And you may find you're feeling like, okay, I gotta do, and it's since yesterday. And also just, Mars's fights. So we're going to see more. We saw that with people in St. Louis out on their front porch with their guns and a mustard stain right on her shirt. She had a mustard stain. You're wearing a mustard stain on your shirt. I'm like, Mars and Aries, what can you do? She was eating a hamburger fast. So yeah. So it's just that kind of day. And when that happens, just go, ooh, do you want to lean in and argue with them, or do you want to kind of roll back and go, yeah, you guys take it. I got to go over here and clean a cupboard, or whatever your Mars wants to do. So it's big, Amanda. It's really big.
Okay. So a couple questions.
Yeah, fire away.
Let's talk about that full moon eclipse.
Yeah.
On July 4th, 5th, right? Yeah. Depending on where you are. Tell us about the energy of that and the invitation of that.
Well, the energy for it is, remember, we have the 30-day cycle, so it goes back to June 5th, which was with the first new moon, and then we had the full moon to full moon, right? But we also go back to January 5th of 2019, and what was going on for you then. We go back, 20 months, 2 lunar cycles. And then October 5th of last year, what were you doing? And this is the culmination. So it's going to be at 13 of Gemini, Cancer. So Gemini, Cancer Sun. The first one was Gemini, Sag. Now we had a new moon in Cancer, 0. And now we have a full moon at 13. And then at the end of the month, we have another new moon in Cancer. So the full moon is any planets in your chart that are at 13 are getting woken up by this full moon. So you want to kind of look in your chart and see it with a little degree sign if there's anything there, because it's going to have an emotional reaction to the story. So we had talked, it was an emotional eclipse, a seeing eclipse, and now emotionally how we're going to process it. And again, the story was December of 19 for the one at or December of 18 for the one at June 5th. And that was about how do we partner around what our creative desires are, because there was a Sun-Venus conjunction on that one. And now on the full moon, emotionally, we go, well, where do I want to, because the moon's in Capricorn, where do I want to set a boundary? Where do I want to not maybe do what I used to do? Maybe I don't want to nurture quite the way I did before. And you look at the Cancer Capricorn houses in your chart, and that's where you're receiving illumination. You're seeing it in a new way, right? And you're in the mood to kind of clean it out. So in my case, my cleaning lady left because she was ill, and I hired a new cleaning lady who moves my stuff. I have a lot of Cancer. She hides things. Like she hid my peanut butter a couple weeks ago. This week, she hid the little dish strainer thing where you put the silverware. And I'm always like, okay, now it's like a little treasure hunt in my house. And I'm like, and she goes, you have a lot of stuff. I said, yeah, I know I have a lot of stuff. I got a lot of Cancer in my chart. But I was like, all right, I'm going to take advantage of this reorganizing that she's doing because she's moving. I'm going to take advantage of it because it's out of order for me. And I know that means for me, go pull stuff out and get rid of it. Because this eclipse is in my home, in my direction in life and she's been moving stuff. So I've been like, where'd she move it, man? Like, so now I'm going to be like, you know what? It's my house. I can throw away things. So I know I'm going to full moon be releasing stuff and letting things go. So this morning I took advantage of my newfound revolution, which was I'm going to throw away a bag of stuff every day. So we had this huge stack of magazines. And I went through it and I threw away half of them. Most of them I haven't finished reading. So they're back by the bed, by the pile. But I got rid of half of them. So watch where you're releasing something that's emotionally attached, or more importantly, where someone's asking you to nurture them and you want to set a boundary and you want to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna ask you to caretake. So all this stuff saying don't be selfish, wear your masks, you can't tell me what to do. Well, it's Mars, yeah, right, but you don't get to shop in Trader Joe's then. It's understanding our responsibility to ourselves and our collective and how we take care of other people. So,
okay.
I mean, it's big. It's emotional, very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also old. Like, you've been dealing with this for a while. You're just not in the mood to do it anymore. You want to separate. Eclipses make you want to separate, take action. And it's like, it could have been there for a long time, but you're like, now I have to do something about it. And watch what it brings up. Remember, we always say, look at what you're attracted to. That's what the universe is trying to teach you about. Just the news media, what stories you read, what parts you're paying attention to. But the eclipses are big and revelations happen. So, we've got the ongoing revelation that Russia was paying to kill our soldiers. Okay, that popped on an eclipse, right? And Bolton was the guy in charge, and he can't talk about it? Okay, well, all right, it's this whole, it's like, watch what pops. That's the best part with eclipses, is watch what pops, so, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, Mars and Aries, you went through a list really quickly. Do you mind going back to that list?
Yeah, totally. I got a few lists.
Yes, because I think it's really
I got
important.
A list. I got another list.
Like what you said, you said, astrology gives us the opportunity to understand the energy and then make choices more consciously about how we're going to work with the energy. So it'd be really good to know, once again, what the lower form energy might look like, and then how we can actually elevate that.
Okay. What I would encourage you all to do is Google anger and get a list of words from there, because that's what I did. And so it also is how it feeds emotions. So anger words: acrimony, animosity, annoyance, antagonism, displeasure, enmity, exasperation, fury, hatred, impatience, indignation, ire, irritation, outrage, passion, there's a nice one, rage, resentment, temper, violence, chagrin, conniption, dander. I love dander. Get your dander up. My mother used to say that. Disapprobation, distemper. Remember when animals would get distemper and they'd growl at you and come and bite you? Gall, huff, infuriation, irascibility, irritability, miff, peevishness. I'm peeved at you. Petulance, pique, rankling, soreness, stew, storm, tantrum, tiff, umbrage, vexation, blow up, cat fit, hissy fit, ill humor, ill temper, mad, or slow burn, right? And then, go for the positive, because Mars in Aries is the warrior. Mars in Aries is assertive. Mars in Aries is sure-footed and happy and ready to go. So the positive words: sure, certain, unique, dynamic, tenacious, hardy, secure, empowered, ambitious, powerful, confident, refreshed, invigorated, focused, motivated, strengthened, vibrant, renewed, healthy, creative, inspired, and determined. So again, when you feel an emotion, because, that comes in, or you see it coming, someone's doing it, you want to decide what you want to do with it and go, okay, that really irritated me. Do I want to fight with them? Or do I want to take that irritation and go over here and do something else? Because I don't want to play with you. I want to go take that energy and use it, deploy it. So that's the gift. And it's very active. Mars in Aries is a very active Mars. The good news is we're going to really feel like we need to take action of some sort. And the other part is, if we think of the Capricorn planets as being here, Mars in Aries is here, squaring them, right? It's opening square, which is opening squares are take action squares. They're a crisis. You need to do something. And if you think about a square, sometimes people, when they're learning astrology, squares are bad. No, squares are your thighs and your calves. Your legs are in a 90-degree square. And to get up off the couch, you need to move the square. So this is a lot of energy for you to take action to change the structures in your life that you are not happy with. And you're going to look at the Capricorn placement, because that's where all the change is happening in your chart, whether you like it or not. And you're going to look at the Aries part, which is where you can take action to do something about it. So it's big.
Okay. And how, so how does this couple with Mercury retrograde? So like this feeling of like, okay, we want to like take action, go forward, but then we have Mercury retrograde. So how would you, and also not only Mercury retrograde, but a lot of planets retrograde.
Yeah, everybody's retrograde. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they all say redo it. Redo it. What'd you do
Redo
wrong?
it now, like while we're retrograde. Okay.
Yeah, redo it now. And of course, Mercury retrograde is all old people calling in and checking in with you. So I've had people that you haven't called or you haven't talked to, you call them. Like my cell phone sent me a message from somebody who called me in June of 19. So I called her back and I'm like, hi. And she's like, hi. And, we were chatting and she said, so I said, oh, I'm returning your call. She said, I didn't call you. I'm like, yeah, you did. I got a message here from you. And then when I hung up, it was from June. I don't know what Verizon did, but they sent it in. And it was a very nice conversation. She was one of my students who moved to Sedona. So I was like, hi, Barbara. She's like, I didn't call you. But we got into this really nice conversation. Kind of answer the phone call too with Mercury retrograde. And remember, back up your computers. This is when your computers go a little crazy. Internet has a little outages. There's little songs. We were doing a podcast the other day, and they hung up my other person, and then it would play music. And so we were like, all right. So watch for tricks in communication. And the other part, because of the square, is with Mercury retrograde, you can do something you're not supposed to do. Mercury, of course, rules tweets. So tweeting out something and then going, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that, and pulling it back, that's Mercury retrograde. Yeah. So one of my students tweeted something, personal about herself that included something happening in 9 months. So I'm not going to say what it was, but you guys can work it out. But she tweeted it to a group list. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so great. And she was like, I didn't mean to tell anybody. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but you just told like 30 of us. Okay, I apologize because I congratulate her. Just don't talk about it. I don't want anybody talking about it. I'm like, okay, Mercury retrograde, right? And she's got a lot of Virgo. So the Virgos in the Gemini houses just go batshit crazy on you because Mercury's retrograde. But yes, you hear from old people, you run into old things, you rethink how you want to do it, you come up with new terms. And so it adds a lot of confusion that lets people get really mad, because then they go, oh my God, you meant to do it. And you're kind of like, I did. I tweeted it, didn't I? So double check your carbons, double check your messaging, because you can say some stuff where you go, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't take those things back.
You can't take them back. That's you can't whatever this thing was. She couldn't delete it because she was going, somebody delete this. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm just in the group. I don't have any control. Yeah.
Terry has a question. She says, Anne, do you use a tight orb with eclipses when comparing to natal planets?
Yeah, I use about a 3 degree. Yeah. Okay. Most lunations I use 1 to 3. Yeah. But remember, it's going to vibrate anything that you have, and it creates like a little hole. So when planets go in there, they trigger it. So this week, Mars came and triggered the eclipse that we had last week. So when he hit 0 on Monday, we all went, oh, wow, and had a revelation, right? So, yep.
Okay.
I like tight orbs for lunations. Yes.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit more about Jupiter Pluto? I know that we talked about that last week, but it's a big one. So can we just talk a little bit more about the energy of that?
Yeah. So Jupiter is in Capricorn, which in the Chinese tradition is the year of the rat. And that's common when we have plagues or economic hard times, because Jupiter doesn't like being on Earth. He's a sky god, and we're bringing him down to Earth. But he makes everything bigger. Whatever he's in, he makes it bigger. So he's making Capricorn stuff bigger. Whatever house is Capricorn in your chart is getting bigger. Sometimes people, Jupiter in the first, they get fat, and Capricorn risings tend not to get fat, but that's the year they get every 12 years. So he was there 12 years ago, and he likes to expand things. Now he's hanging out with his brother Pluto. Now remember, Jupiter and Pluto have kind of a complicated relationship. Pluto got eaten by their father, Saturn. And Jupiter, his mother was tired of the father eating the kids, and Jupiter was given away and raised by wolves, right? And then he came back, punched his father in the stomach, vomited up the other siblings, including Pluto. So Pluto spent a little time in his father's vomit, or his father's, because they're gods, they don't die, right? He comes out and he's kind of like, yeah, couldn't have done it sooner? Like, what, And so they get along, but they don't, At the same time, Pluto gets power and Jupiter gets lots of, right? And people with Jupiter-Pluto aspects in their chart Mayor Bloomberg, Warren Buffett, they tend to make a lot of money and get a lot of power because they have money, right? Because if you have money, you can throw money at the problem and solve it. So with Jupiter and Pluto meeting up, they're saying, okay, we have to look at the structures we've created and make them bigger or make them more powerful or change them or not. What are we doing around power? What are we doing? And remember, both of them are retrograde now. So what they did in April when they said, open up, now they're going, close it up, go backwards, revise until September when they both go direct again. So the idea is they're going to make everything bigger, but they're going to want to reverse it. They're going to want to reverse how they made it bigger. And your job, wherever that is, and of course it happens every 13 years. The last time we had it was in December of 2007, which was the beginning of the financial collapse, where the mortgages and all the people lost their money. And the bank said, we're too big to fail. You never say that. But we're too big to fail. And so now we have the whole economy going, and we're like, how are you going to take care of the people? Last time we lost our houses, or we had and we bailed out the corporations. So my governor here in New York's like, don't bail out the corporations, take care of the people, and we'll see what happens. So that's that structural change. Pluto traditionally rules power over dynamics. So Jupiter and Pluto coming together says we're going to change the power over dynamics. We're going to change the dynamics between siblings, between the people that you relate to.
Why is it change there and not just like expand and make more of it?
Because Pluto, if it was just Jupiter, Pluto's the butterfly business.
Right. Okay.
Right. Metamorphosize, decay, decrepit, fall apart, turn into a little black goop and hatch. Right.
Okay.
So Pluto transits, they take everything apart. So Jupiter says we're going to take it apart bigger, faster, quicker.
Interesting.
So it's big, and the idea is it's got 1, 2, 3. So we started it. Now we're revising what we did, and then we're going to figure out what we're doing when we get to November 13th when they meet up again, and then they go forward for 13 years before they meet again. So but Pluto is, Pluto rules the underworld. He rules decay, dark, decrepit. He rules obsession. He rules passions. He rules power dynamics that aren't always nice. He also rules good power. He rules, you go to the doctor and you agree to have them cut you open with a knife and fix your heart, and they could kill you. That's power. That's Pluto. So he can be good or bad. Generally, when he hangs out with Jupiter, they get in a little trouble. There's that saying that there's no fortune that's honest. They're all built with some Pluto. Right. So it's kind of it's an interesting, and it'll cause us to look at, there were memes when the first one hit was, to help this, throw a billionaire in the volcano instead of sacrificing a virgin, throw a billionaire in and see if that helps. Right. I was like, well, there's Jupiter, Pluto. We're going to kill the billionaires now. Okay. Glad I'm not a billionaire. So it's big, but it also is going backwards. So they're meeting up and they're saying, revise. Let's revise.
Okay. All right. So Anne, definitely.
Pluto's what we're passionate about too. It's what we get a little obsessed about. Wherever you have Pluto in your chart, and it's either on or off. You're either like really obsessed or you're completely off of it. So it's an obsessive energy. Right?
Okay. So what we have this week is the full moon eclipse on Saturday, Sunday, which could have a releasing, separating energy, especially around nurturing and creating boundaries around nurturing. It's an emotional eclipse. The last one was illuminating. The first one was emotional. Okay. Then we have Mars and Aries, which we went through lots of different like lower expressions of Mars and Aries and higher expressions of Mars and Aries. So,
pick your Aries.
Yeah, do your Aries, do it and pay attention and just witness it. And then also what I would say too is so many of these times, and I think we talked about this last week, we can't really work it out in our head. Like we need to actually feel it in our body and then use alchemy to actually transmute it into those higher expressions. So that's a process and that isn't always easy. but we could at least start exploring how to do that, and we'll have lots of opportunity to. Okay. And then we have Jupiter and Pluto conjunct. So this is going to be around power dynamics, this power over, power under, and
your own personal relationship to power, someone trying to power on you.
Right. So paying attention to those dynamics in your life. And then we have Athena and Pluto meeting up, which is
strategy.
Yes. So what is your strategy? Paying attention to what is your strategy moving forward with all this Mars Aries energy, you're going to want to move forward. So having some sort of strategy around it. Athena's asking for some wisdom around that. Yeah.
Well, she's also, remember Athena, she prided herself on her not being emotional about stuff, except when she got really mad and she turned Medusa into a snake-headed woman.
No, except for that.
Yeah, except for that. And then she realized, gee, I got really emotional. I made a mistake. So she sent Perseus to slay him and said, bring her head back. So he cuts her head off and he brings her head back. And she takes Medusa's head and she puts it on her shield. And she reminds herself, intellect and emotion. And her shield is emotion, right? So she has, as things come into her, she gets the emotion, and then it helps her understand the intellect rather than just working with the anger. So it's allowing you to work with it on two levels. And of course, eclipses are also departure times. So today, Moon, Capricorn, full moon, Rob Reiner died. And he was one of the great comedic geniuses. He wrote the Dick Van Dyke Show and made, his son was on All in the Family, was a huge comic man, right? And that's the Moon, that's the grandpa, one of the great comedians leaving and going off into the stars. So watch for separations, make sure you tell your family you love them because this is eclipses and things separate, pop, and depart. And also we have, we will be seeing, great legends leaving us because they're on the U.S. point. So things that are important to the United States history or our vision, and anybody at 13 Cancer. So it's an important time.
Okay. You're not saying anyone at 13 degrees Cancer is going to die. You're not saying.
But
I just want to make sure because people will start freaking out and looking at their chart.
No. But you're going to have an emotional rupture.
Okay. Okay. So Anne, would you say that with that full moon, the eclipse portal, quote unquote, that we've been in for the 6 weeks is closing? It's like
then it takes 2 weeks to close.
2 weeks to close. Okay. All right.
We have to go from full to new. So this is the emotional where you go, oh my God, I have to do something. Because we had emotion, we had awareness, and now we're like, all right, I got to do something about this. And then we got 2 weeks to get it done.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and then we're happily into the next chapter. But Mars in Aries is really going to accelerate stuff for folks. It's going to make everybody feel like, oh, wow. And when Mars gets to the degree of the eclipse, he's triggering the eclipse from last week. So he's going to make you want to take action on what you saw. Because you saw something and you might not have liked it, or you saw it and you liked it and you went, wow, I want more of that. Whatever that action is, just honor that Mars in Aries is very, very assertive. It knows what it wants what it wants. And, Mars in Aries folk, my initial astrology teacher was meat, mattress, and malt. That's what they want. A beer, some sex, and a steak. And of course, there are Aries vegetarians, not a lot of them though. And it is about the primal stuff. It's the primal stuff of your life. So what's primal? Like, what do you want? And you're like, yeah, what do I want? And you may find like you want something different now because all this energy is stirring you up. And so the answer is yes, start working on it.
Wow,
don't wait.
It's so interesting.
Just start working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having to make a decision, which I'll probably tell you all about at some point, but that I never thought I would even be considering, and B, I would have never thought I would make the decision. But it is exactly what you said, just given all the data, all the things I've experienced for this entire year, having to make a big structural decision, that is a big change. And it's funny because like right when Mars went into Aries, or the night before, it was like, okay, this needs to happen. I'm really clear on what needs to happen, and it's got to move it forward. And even I had the moment of like, but it's Mercury retrograde. Should I be making this big decision during this moment? Like, well, it needs to be made. It's like being forced, it's like deadlines and, you got to make the decision. So, yeah.
Well, and also right before it went in, Mars squared the nodes of fate. Right. It was at 29 Pisces, that anaretic degree, and it squared the nodes. And it said to the North Node in Sag, what's the South Node in Gemini that you have to let go of? The old thinking, the old ideas, the old way, to go towards North Node, the vision.
Whoa. Cool.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's very much that kind of a thing.
And
so
we're all having it wherever it is in your chart. What's the vision you got asked about that you kind of are clear you have to do?
Yes.
And then, okay, now that you know you have to do it, well, what's stopping you?
Right.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anne, thank you. Another amazing week.
It'll be fun. I don't even want to give it a number. Just we're gonna get a woman that says it's 1 million. I'm like, all right, whatever. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it may be, that you're watching people go through it. In which case, kind of sit back and watch it and go, wow, that's really interesting, because that's a learning too. We learn from everything we go through every day. Good, bad, or indifferent. Yeah. And
it's also an opportunity to say, hey, look, it's okay. This is a really intense time. The astrology is actually showing us that, like, you're not alone. I know it always feels like such an opportunity to be able to provide a little more compassion for people when they're going through things.
Yes.
Because we know what the energy is. It's like, it is intense. You're not imagining it.
You're not imagining it. You really are feeling it. Yeah. And you may feel like all of a sudden you want to exercise, or like me, I was like, okay, I got to go through these magazines, and I sat there. It took me 10 minutes to sort through them, and then I was like, it's like you're going to find you do stuff really fast, because Mars in Aries is like, it's like, get it done. And you're like, all right, I'll get it done. Like, leave me alone. And then you do it.
All right. Well, thank you, Anne, so much. And thank you all for being here. We love sharing this time with you. It's something that I know both of us look forward to every week. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for continuing to send in your feedback and your comments and your support and your enthusiasm. It makes it even that much more fun. So thank you for that. And if you are on the fence, today's the last day for the Inner Circle. So just go check it out. astrologyhub.com/inner circle. When I say today, I mean June 30th at midnight Hawaii time. We're going to be closing our doors. So check it out.
We will be back. We'll be back here next Tuesday. So
of course.
We're not closing.
We're here. We're booked through the end of the year, and just
we're extracurricular to the end of the year. Yeah.
Exactly, and then we'll see. And it's probably not going to want to be over. But
next year is the rebuilding year, so we rebuild after the tsunami of this year.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll still need astrology. Come on.
We still need astrology.
All right. Well, thanks everybody, and we will see you again next week. Take care.
Bye, gang. Have a good week. Bye.